Good morning. So today we're going to make a spider in a spider's web, and if you have a crayon, a white crayon or oil pastel, I'm going to show you how to do it with oil pastels and watercolor paint to make it look like a web. I am going to draw it in pencil, which you don't have to do. You can draw it right in oil pastel, but that way you can kind of see what I'm making. Otherwise it's hard to see. So for a spider web, I'm going to start to make some lines down my paper, and they're all going to come from the same spot. And then I'm going to make some curved lines that go to each of the lines. So it's like a bumpy line that stops at each different line. And you want to space them out pretty well. Okay, and you can probably do one more actually. I don't want to go off the page. So then what I'm going to do is take my oil pastel and just go over all my lines. So again, if you want to make it look like a spider web that's only white, just skip the pencil that I did. It's a little hard to see what you're doing, but if you feel like you can try it, you can go for it. You can also, I'm going to paint over this, but you could do white crayon or white oil pastel over construction paper, and that'll make it a little bit easier to see. So I'm just tracing the lines I just made with my oil pastel. And, oops, pushing down too hard. And then you do kind of want to push down a little bit hard just so you get enough oil pastel. Okay, so last little bit. Alright, so now my whole paper is oil pasteled, so I'm going to get watercolor, and I'm going to make my spider at like my web and my spider at sunset, so I'm going to use some oranges. And when you go to paint over the oil pastel or crayon, you'll notice that the oil pastel kind of pushes the water aside so that you can still see the oil pastel, but the watercolor paint is going to go like right around it. So I'm going to just paint in each section. And then if you want to kind of use different shades of colors and mix them, that's what I'm doing. So I started with that lighter yellow and mixing it with like orange. It's important for watercolor paint that you mix on your paper and not in the watercolor palette, because you don't want to ruin your colors. I should have honestly grabbed a little bit of a bigger brush. Whoops. So it's just better to mix right on your paper, so that way you're not ruining the palette by mixing inside the palette. So now I'm going to go for a darker orange and eventually go to red. Okay, sorry, almost done. Should have done this on a time lapse, but oh well. So I'm gonna dip in the red, and notice when my brush gets like stringy like this, I know I need more water. So if I used a bigger brush, it wouldn't get stringy so quickly. but that's okay. So if you notice that your brush is getting stringy and it's like harder for you to paint, then that just means you're ready to dip your brush in the water again. I can even add a tiny bit of some purple in here. So I'm going to do red. And then magenta. That is pretty. So you can do any paint colors that make you happy. I thought I would make colors almost like a sunset. All right, so we're gonna let our spider web dry, but as you can see, you still can see the whole web because I used, so oil pastel and crayon will work for this. Marker won't work unless you use like a Sharpie and then use lighter colors around it. Oops. There we go. So I'm gonna let this dry and we're gonna move on to our spider. Okay, so for our spider, I'm gonna draw 2 circles. I'm gonna draw a bigger circle and a smaller circle, and I'm gonna cut these out. And I'm actually gonna just cut them out together, but if you wanna cut out 2 smaller circles and just glue them together, that's totally fine. Okay, and then using a crayon or oil pastel, you can give your spider some eyes. And sometimes spiders have like, little designs on their back, so if you want to do something like that, you're more than welcome. Give your spider stripes or anything else. And then I'm going to add some legs, so I'm just going to cut out 4 strips of paper. Okay, 4 strips of paper, and then these are pretty long legs, so I'm actually just going to cut them in half because I think that would be plenty for our spider. And then what you can do is you can do an accordion fold where you fold towards you and away from you and towards you and away and back and forth until you get this nice accordion. And then you can glue that onto your spider. So I'm actually going to glue it onto the back so that you can't see, and I'll do that in a time lapse. Okay, so here's my spider with all its little legs. I ended up making the eyes like a little bit bigger and white so they were easier to see, and then I did make just like a little tiny smile. So it's up to you if you want to, make like a happy face on your spider. So now what I can do is my watercolor is dry. And well, maybe not that spot, but for the most part. So I can just glue my spider on to my web. Or you don't have to, you can just kind of leave it off. And there's your spider on your web. You can put it wherever you want. And if you want to add a little fly that your spider caught, you can do that as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this project. And if you make a spider in a spider web, I would love to see your picture. Have a great day.